Hello, YouTube. I'm gonna talk to you about Crossroads. It's take two because my mic was goddamn muted. So, I think this is gonna relate to everyone. There's a lot of things that we want to do. There's a lot of things that feel helpful to us. For me, it's uploading coaching VODs. Every time I do that, I get a good handful of people getting coached by me. It's like an extreme sensation of security to be able to use that to support myself. And it's really stressful how helpful this is, and how like that's very clear to me, and I experience it firsthand. But I'm still very stuck. For example, if I open Premiere right now and I go to edit a coaching VOD, just the image of this causes my arms to get weak, to fucking feel painful, like they're getting electrocuted. Like it's real physical, real intensely dominating sensations. There's a bit of that, and then there's this chest feeling. This is the most intense feeling. It's like, close your eyes and imagine all the space where all of your sensations are. Now there's kind of an allocation, kind of a map of intensity. The intensity around my chest is like fire. It's like white hot metal towards the center. And it does a lot of stuff to me. It takes me places. It gets so extreme when I go through activities of editing or taking notes, like listening to my sessions and writing down notes, or just any part of that, anything that puts me in the direction of uploading a coaching VOD, despite how clearly helpful this is, I still end up in this crossroad. It's extremely tight crossroad. I mean, you know how it is. It's like I should do my homework, but I'm not. I feel this anxiety, this burning here and there, but I'm annoyed by it, looking away from it, whatever. So I'll go on walks, I'll lay on the ground, I'll do whatever the fuck I have to do to just get closer, to just really have to face my relationship with all of this. And before I go through the details, I do want to go through, I want to just say, you can be here in the crossroad. You can be focusing on the sensations here in a crossroad. You can also be here, right? The scope is time. You're sitting there, laying there, you're going, this is everything that I'm feeling right now. I'm in this crossroad, which way should I, like you're saying, like it hurts so much that I'm in this place getting torn into pieces. Instead of, oh, what's next? What's next? What's next? And these are all useful. These are all useful scopes of focus. But it is very easy, and what I noticed just now is a very good way that I create movement and mobility in these places, and I've talked about this before, is curiosity. Now your curiosity combines with your scope, obviously. So you can be sitting there here and you can detect your scope kind of being future, kind of feeling like a forward posture, like how it feels when you lean forward, but with the sensation of curiosity. And now I realize that my posture has been leaning a little bit too forward, and that when I do enter these deeply intense crossroads, it's easy for me to attach the concept of surprise or curiosity with future. And I think this is really intuitive for a lot of people too. And you can get stuck, and it makes sense. There's nothing wrong with this, except that it can be painful without noticing it, and it can be in a certain state without being aware. And so you can be here without realizing that yesterday you were here and tomorrow you might be here, or vice versa, in terms of the scope of your curiosity. So very literally, I'm laying there on the ground, just trying to really just fucking be with this pain and somehow find some porosity in it, like anything it can reveal, any form of mobility we can find, anything that I'm not noticing that I can notice, to take me onto different paths, to kind of shed a light on this thing that is so hard to just look at and accept. It's like cleaning your room and looking at the dirty mess. You might, I don't know, I'm starting to get boggled in my head right now, but basically, to start this off, I just want to say, at the beginning of this, I was very much right here, just like, I'm looking for a surprise so I can kind of get through this, I can kind of digest this sensation. You know, instead of sitting there stagnant, the way I look at it every day, I look for, what am I missing? What's changing? Where's the movement that I'm just not tuned into? And I realize that in that curiosity, it has a very forward-leaning posture. And I'm sitting there at a crossroad of numbness, where I'm looking left and I'm looking right and I'm looking forward and I'm just fucked. I'm numb. It's a combination of intense pain and intense coldness, like intense heat, cold, pain, numbness, dullness, and the map of it. And this is a very confusing situation. This is a very messy situation. This is a very repetitive situation in my life. It's itchy feeling, right? So all of those sensations that I just came off the top of my head like that, those are all here. All right, that's in the crossroad. Now, my first approach, laying down today, just being so fucking focused on all this anxiety and just trying to listen to it, trying to hear it out, I'm really like, all right, what's surprising me about it? I'm kind of waiting. I'm kind of neglecting feeling, kind of looking away from this, and I can feel it. And it's hard to just like notice that feeling of your posture, your mental posture. It's really hard to notice it. And once I noticed it, all these words appear. All right, I don't mean to write this, it makes sense. And so there's a lot to be found when you're able to look at your confusion and look at your numbness and look at all of that and look at how stagnant it feels, and it feels more stagnant each day. You might be looking for something specific without realizing it. You might be trying to be open, trying to be surprised, trying to be wrong without realizing that you are stuck here, or even here. So this direction is the first main factor of this experience. None of this would be the same without this awareness. And so it really takes a lot of compassion to sit there and say, yes, it is the same as yesterday, and realize that that's different, for it to continue being the same, for it to continue stagnating, for all of the impact of all of that to intensify. It is different. It is not different here, though. It's different here. It's already different. It's already different. So I'm sitting there stuck and realizing it's already different, but I'm just numb, realizing that I'm distracted. The sensation of being distracted really helped me come to realize all of this on accident. It's usually how it goes. So let's just talk about it. This is an example of processing it, just an ordinary day. I don't usually write it out, but I figured I wanted to experiment and maybe share some shit. So alright. So factors of this anxiety in my chest and in this scene. The first one, worthlessness. What do I mean by worthlessness? A feeling inside of me of a bug getting crushed by a human. I can feel the disgust of the human. I can feel the disgust projected onto the bug. I am the bug. I feel it on my skin. And I feel the crushing feeling. I feel the helplessness, the despair. I feel the guilt that I even am a bug. I feel disgusting. Yeah, it's like a worm, pity, disgust, whatever. Feel it from both POVs, the connection between as well. And so this sucks. It's very familiar, but I'm not quite sure what the impact is of letting myself feel the same thing. And if that is really going to go as expected. So this is the first instance of me going, the worthlessness that just keeps me stuck in the same spot over here must change. It must put my scope over here. When in reality, by going into detail on the worthlessness, I am staying right here. Which kind of helps me digest the rest of stuff there around me in the crossroad. So I start writing down layers of this experience. There's a contrasty tear in reality. So it's kind of like the space where your sensations are. There's cloudiness all over, and then there's this rock in the middle of it that is red hot, and that's kind of what it feels like in my chest. And then there's attributes to this mess, this tight mess of confusion. And that's basically where the rest of this is going to take us. Now that we're in this scope and we're not just constantly doing this without awareness, all right? So that red hot rock in my experience does not just feel like pain. It does not just feel like an obstacle. It sparks a lot of curiosity. It brings imagery of momentum and growth in my life, of guaranteed difference from my place right now. It is imagine that being alive in the present is like a cup, and in that cup there's always this thing mixing, and there's always the stuff that is more stagnant, and the mixture is there right now being basically just more different, and that direction brings you an infinite sense of difference and potential, and I don't know, hard to go into all this, but mobility. So mobility, like, where does this sensation take me? Where does it take me? Mostly imagery is what I mean by mobility. All of these words don't really matter, but it just reminds me of editing, really. Like this feeling is really connected to being in public, editing coaching videos, stuff that I associate deep shame with, deep, like, crushing sensation. So I feel this horrible pain, and then boom, where else is the pain? Like what what happens during this pain, that is kind of the curiosity that goes boom, 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 boom. You're out here in public, you're here in public, you're with this person, you're with that person, you're editing, you're making this, you're sharing that. All of these things pop up. Noticing this is very interesting to me, even though it's not terribly unexpected. It's quite familiar, and familiar to the point where it feels like going to the gym and doing the same exercise, but feeling your muscles grow even more. So it's like, fuck, man, do I really have to do all this? Do I really have to go through all of this? Do I really have to process all of this like this? You know, we all know what this is. And so it continues taking me deeper and in different directions and different combinations. So the sensation of worthlessness combined with the sensation of the contrast. So that rock, that red hot rock next to the cold numbness. What is that like? How do those sensations combine in my experience? It's a deeply scary curiosity that creates a lot of sparks inside of me just talking about this right now. Even though I just went through it, it's just very, when you take these two sensations, you can really create a combination that reveals a lot to you. And just feels very cleansing to process. So worthlessness combines with the numbness. So worthlessness combined with the numbness. When I have this sensation of worthlessness next to the coldness and the numbness and the stagnant feeling and kind of the shallow, hard, cracky sort of feeling in my life next to this hyper painful, dense sensation in my chest, it's like I can feel this worthlessness clinging onto it, preserving the coldness, putting its back to the coldness, which is very interesting to me. It puts its back to the coldness almost to not look at it. I can feel it sort of interacting with it in a way where just the impact of worthlessness on the numbness is a stagnant sensation, preserving sensation, attached, fearful, cope, blind, a very blind sensation, like it's scared of that sensation in my chest, you know, the life, the difference. So yeah, there's a lot of terror. When it combines with the infinite feeling, that anxious feeling that we all have somewhere, for me, it's like the image is vinegar and milk. It's just disgusting. It's like I just gave my friend, it's like when I gave Storm natto in Japan, and his face, like I could feel his disgust in his face. I can feel that from the sensation of worthlessness when it approaches, when I put these next to each other. When I take these layers and I just feel them with each other, there's a deep level of disgust and shriveling from both sides. Like it is just, there's a lot going on and it's messy. But it's very disgusting and crushing. Yes, like I forget. It's a very crushing feeling when you take the worthlessness and the shape of basically change in your ordinary life. It just crushes it. And also, yeah, disappointment, especially in different contexts where this combination is affected and relevant, like editing videos. Stagnant direction of focus. So in this scene, in just laying down and feeling all these sensations, you sort of feel a posture of Am I looking towards the pain or away from the pain? So yeah, deep feeling of cold with my back against the numbness. I already talked about that. Staring into the shriveling tear. Clicky, yeah, like muscle memory sort of feeling. Like I know, like it feels too natural, too repetitive for my back to always be against that cold sensation. There's almost a hyperfixation with the pain in my chest, and I can feel it, like I'm facing it. And my reaction to this is like neediness from the cold. Like the cold feels neglected, basically. So all of this combines so far to make a scene. So yeah, a handful of deeply painful and vivid layers interacting with each other. It's a mixture of presence, experience, and sensations. And I can feel when it fucking throbs, like this shit, this whole bundle of layers in my ordinary life, it really acts up around existing to people, displaying myself, sharing stuff. And more importantly to me, it is a snapshot. It's an address. Once I have combined all of these and I've processed all of this so far, the combination, the mobility, just impact. I'm just processing impact of stagnant processing that is inside of me. It gives me like an address I can come back to and go, fuck, it's so stagnant. Fuck, feels so uncurious. It feels so cold. Oh, it's so itchy. And so basically I'm able to complain about it and see it honestly and grow it. I'm able to look at these brown leaves. I'm saying these brown leaves so far. So we keep looking. We're just curious. How's my relationship with the infinite tear of anxiety? What am I cringing at? What am I unhappy about? What do I not like about it? When I'm laying there, I'll notice my mind kind of get really copy and go like, oh, but I like this part. And it's fine. It kind of gets to this equilibrium sensation feeling of like nothing is sticking out. And when I'm in a deeply curious state, my reaction to that is frustration. And so I will look deeper and I will look for pain. I will look for it like I love it. Like, someone you're checking on. It's just my sensations though. So I notice, oh, it's kind of cringe. Like this thing always kind of feels like an obstacle. And I'm trying to remember what I was feeling exactly, because I remember this was a very ineffable feeling and I felt very distracted by words. When I'm going through all of this, it's not really words in my head. Often it is, but often the reaction to the words is a sensation of distraction. And so when I see this tear, there's almost like a villainous air to it, like I'm opposed to it. I don't know how to explain this exactly, but it made me really fucking cringe at that. Like I wouldn't explain that that's how I look at it, but truthfully, the way that it feels when it's sneaking up on me, or from a state of equilibrium to where I'm not really loving it, I'm just existing. It is I don't know, this shit just makes me cringe. It's just like very shallow sort of perspective. Yeah, and these are sort of the words. You feel uncurious about this infinite void to change. Yeah, sensation of clinging to the dullness. This is probably the hardest part of this whole video to explain. I'm just gonna kind of skip over it for now. The map. So now I'm like, what would the map of all this be so far? So physically, it's higher in my chest than my old. I had a really horrible anxiety that really started from around my sternum, and understanding that and sort of going through this process with that was a huge I mean, that lasted years, and that was like the physical pain of not being able to speak. And so like when I would be trying to speak, that was where my mind was taking me, deep in my sternum and all of this, and it would take me places and it would hurt me. It would like do so much stuff. So now compared to that, it's a lot higher up. It's like it moves from around my sternum to maybe a few inches up, and to me that feels very drastic for some reason, but interesting to know. So I'm just noting down details. I'm just noting down everything that causes any sensation of curiosity, any sensation of friction, anything at all. Even just the blurriness that I get stuck at, you know, when we're over here. So one of the ways is you can map it out physically. So I can feel the border of this, you know, I get a good shape of this. I can kind of feel how strict the border of this is in my chest. It's like a rock. It's almost like a rock where the edges kind of dissipate a little bit. That's the shape of the sensation. Mapping this is really interesting because I do get a stark contrast between like this like bumpiness of the same feeling. It really bumps up in my chest, and then in my room, in the world around me, in the people around me, it's really shallow. It's really low to the ground. It's not like a mountain, you know. If this was a singular layer fucking map, it would be like in my chest there's Mount Everest, and in the rest of the world it's like fucking St. Louis. All right, so it's very, I don't know, very cleansing to just comb through this and say, yeah, that is kind of how it feels, and look for the blurry spots, and well, okay, come back to this and see how all of the blurriness, the pain, the shapes, the borders, how all of that changes. The first thing I noticed after this was that this dominating pain in my chest that had a very strict border, just by the pure frustration of realizing how intense this border is and how it just falls off like a cliff on the edges. That frustration kind of melted the edges. The frustration came from the curiosity of what this does to me, of looking at the world around me and going, yeah, I really feel sucked away from it, genuinely and viscerally. And it doesn't start that way with a word or a theory. It just fucking hurts. So it's interesting. It's just interesting. That really, really healing just to be interested by that, you know. It's just amazing. So that's the reaction to the map. I already talked about that. See if I missed anything. Yeah, sickness. I really felt sickness around the border. Imagine you feel a shape in your hand and you detect the border of this shape purely not by the sensation of touch with your skin, but by the sensation of disgust that we're all familiar with. It's in a space out there in this pocket of the void, and you just feel that shape of disgust really shine around the edges. Feels like a fishnet, a restricting feeling. I always picture a fishnet when I feel this, like it's getting tight, and I can feel an urge. Yeah, I can feel it's like looking at a plant with a cage around it, with a plant with a net around it, it's like my initial reaction is just combing through it, and what the impact is of that is just kind of cutting through the net as I'm able to touch it. It's easy to cut through the net. I do it with my mind, with my fingers, but I have to feel it, and it fucking hurts. So yeah, I feel the border changing. I feel the impact of the border changing, not just the border changing. I detect the border change, not in a vacuum, but as a relationship is affected between me and the world around me, no matter what it is. It's just less gray. It's less St. Louis-like. Now the map goes from Mount Everest and St. Louis to like fucking a big, I don't know mountain names, goddammit, but like a smaller big mountain, and you know, like more gradual fall off at the edges. And I even feel like that part that is still like St. Louis, I feel a flow into it. Very weird to actually open my mouth and hear that come out. It's not really what I expect. Nonetheless, it just feels amazing. Very exhausting though. So reaction to the reaction. You can see we go this way all the time. Like the impact. What's the impact of your grief? What's the impact of that impact? Let's say the impact is this. What's the impact of being able to map out all that change in the map? The mountain looks different. St. Louis is higher up, you know, it's less contrasty, it's less hot spots, extreme pain, extreme numbness. Cleansing, feels like I took a shower, feels like I'm settling, you know, like I noticed my posture's leaning forward and I'm cringing at myself, and before I know it, I don't even need to stand normally. It's just nature. And I have a more familiar address of focus. I can look at this. I can go, okay, I know what this sensation feels like of looking around me and going, it really feels like my focus is turbo focused, turbo allocated unevenly. And I love that. It hurts, but it's so amazing feeling to be able to go there like that instead of having to lay down and go through all of this each time. You understand? Every time we go through all of this, we have each part defined as an address of sensation. I'm proud. You know, it's so fucking painful. Every day I can just tap into it and just fucking lay on the rug, go on a walk, do whatever I can to just be alone and be curious, and you will engulf yourself in such real, genuine, just honesty on how your life really is. So it hurts, but you know, you get so proud of yourself after you're doing what really feels like you're going in the direction of what is impossible for you, or at the very least sitting in the spot that you are stuck at. It just sucks. Fucking hurts. And I'm shaking after. I was shaking, exhausted. More even feeling, less of a hot spot feeling. Yeah, and I can feel its urge to want to flex outward and freedom, like that net is less strong. And even the strength of that net, even if, you know, I can feel it right now, sort of, the strength of the net is more clear, and so I can help the plant inside more vividly, more directly, closely. Before I started all of this today, it just, you know, you get caught up in all of your work and everything, and you get used to different sensations, and there's a big mix. Every sensation is like a little wormhole into an entire universe. And for days, you know, I focus on all sorts of things, not always this. And so before I focus on this, it's much more just like that vague image of the really hot rock in my day-to-day life. It's always there, and I'm used to the pain of it. And I know you're all used to the pain of many things that are really crushing or interfering, and you don't anticipate it to take you to an entire different fucking universe, a different world. So it's interesting to just get to this point and reflect and be like, damn, this, like, I didn't expect any of this. It was really vague at the beginning. That's a good feeling. That's an amazing feeling. Makes me really curious amidst deep numbness, deep dullness. General shock to all sensations of new, of unexpected. Yeah, I'm more familiar with that shock. Say you're playing a video game and boom, suddenly everything feels good. You're not used to it. It's like meditating. I connect this a lot to like when I would try to meditate in the past, and I would get to that state of fucking just coom, and then I'd be like, ugh, what is that? You know? But it's good. But it's shock because it's so different and unexpected. So being familiar with that shock brings you deeper into it each time, and I love to realize that I've gotten more familiar with that shock of new, unexpected pain or pleasure, whatever it is. It just feels very light bulby every time I feel that shock. Yeah, so we talked about, yeah, I'm always anticipating forward my sensations to look for a surprise. I talk a lot about surprise, and that really can put you forward in a forward mental. What's next? What's next? What's next? No. Look around you. Look at the lack of surprise around you right now. Does it bother you? It doesn't have to. But I'm sure in my bones, I feel that all of you are bothered by your lack of surprise somewhere, by some amount. And just by asking this question, you will notice. And that's the fun part. It's always there. It's always there. You don't have to look forward. You don't have to look back. But you can. And there's nothing wrong with it. Just don't get stuck. I don't want you guys to get stuck. I want us to be able to feel when it's getting rigid and repetitive. So I realized I was doing that more than I thought. I wasn't simply feeling the deep, blurry, painful, stagnant situation that I was literally in, lying on the ground. Yeah, you can get really goddamn whimsical with this shit, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna lay down, and I know usually when I do this, I get, you know, fucking transported. I get all this imagery. I feel different. I feel so much relaxation between me and what I want to do. There's so much deep, vivid experience associated with this, and especially when it's new to you. A lot of the people that I coach, they get really attached, you know, that first month of change where, oh my god, it's so different the way that it's different, but it's only gonna get more different. And are you really feeling attached to how it was before? That's my question. How are you? Not are you. It's always there. Like, we always can check on this with ourselves. I was very stuck until I came to terms with this sensation of distraction. So to sit there in my crossroad and go, holy fuck, I'm not looking at it. Oh, I don't know what to do. That's making me panic and frustrated. And I feel so distracted. It's like, oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? You know, I start to wobble. And then before I know it, that feeling of distraction is sitting there wobbling in front of me. And it starts to get less distracted. More distracted, and I can see what's happening at the same time as I just have my finger on the movement of this distraction sensation. So I'm laying there and I'm going, oh, I just feel so stuck. I can't get any movement in this sensation. I'm just sitting here stuck with this rock in me, and everything's cold, and I'm at this crossroad. I can't do what I need to do to support myself and like further my career and everything. It's very important. And it really matters to me a lot. There's my whole life behind it and in front of it, and the people I know and my family and everything that I believe in. That distraction takes all of that and goes, look at yourself. In just a feeling, it just has me go, look at yourself. And this whole thing just spirals out in front of me like untying a knot once I'm able to just go, I'm so fucking distracted. Ah, I'm even more distracted. Oh, I'm less distracted. That's fucking it. That's all that happened. I didn't do anything. So much reality to be surprised by if you stop looking for the surprise and realize that you are already numb to it as is. Surprise in the numbness created a lot of change. A more clear image of hurtful, unbalanced impacts, new familiar depths of familiar sensations. Closer contact to what happens at the same time as change in this scene. Yeah, so this address, this relationship between all of this feels very separated. And that's one of the things that bothers me. And what that sensation of bother does is it puts it together and makes it feel more like a mixture, you know, like a harmony, like just life. Yet it's like brushing your hair. Look at this. This is a bunch of strands of hair. These are all strands that are next to each other. And going down here is like realizing that I just made a brush for it. You know, I have this brush now, and I can just brush through my hair. So that's what I mean by closer contact to what happens at the same time as change in this scene. This scene, such as this or this or this or this or this, but mostly this scene. You know, that's what I'm left with by digesting all of this and connecting all of this. I have this brush for my hair at the end, and it feels a certain way when I brush my hair. It hurts and it helps, and the contact with that experience makes it so I can take care of all of this and move forward. Once all of this feels balanced and all of this shit gets brushed out real easily, I'm gonna find a lot more knots. I'm gonna find the edge of the cleanliness and keep brushing my life around. It's how I went from not being able to talk to being able to be around people to being able to talk, to do this, which is my job, to talk. Just an insanely daunting life to be able to navigate through. And we all are in that. Just pattern recognition. We're just going through recognizing I didn't do anything. I laid down on the fucking floor. I walked around. I took a shower. I took care of myself. I did what I had to do so that pain was able to spend time with me. You know, I'm not waking up extremely goddamn hungry and then focusing on this stuff. I'm waking up so fucking hungry, eating, taking care of myself, brushing my hair until everything is chill, and then boom, you're in hell again. There's just that rock inside of you coming. It's just anxiety. What does it mean? What does it want? You know, once I get these sensations, I'm just curious, like, what does it want? What does it want to do to me? What is it trying to do to me? Where does it want to take me? What happens at the same time as it changes? What's near it in its space? Understand the gravity of it and the connections. And not to do it right, just to fucking be able to do anything and in the end sit here and say, wow, I feel a lot better. I just was intensely surprised halfway through. And I'm realizing that right now as I talk to you, that as I was doing this, it's some of the most intense pain that I'm capable of experiencing as a person. It's something very personal, very difficult for me personally. And it's right there every day. I can just fucking reach out and touch it like the sun. It's like you can touch you touch the sun with your fingers each day if you want. And that's what I did. And it starts off so terrifying, so impossible, so numb, so confusing, so just everything, painful, numb, everything, like such a fucking wall, Harry Potter wall, I'm telling you. And then halfway through realizing, wow, I'm so tranquil and so calm, and so this is such a therapeutic thing. You get to the end and you go, what is the impact of this, of brushing? It's like I'm talking about all this as if it's healthy or good for you, but it's not. It's different. Just to be able to get to the end and go, fuck, man, that was cleansing and calming unsuspectedly in the middle of the sun. That's the impact of this for me. So it's not like a goddamn exercise that you're supposed to benefit from. I'm also really exhausted from this. And it's possible to go through stuff and feel more exhausted and less exhausted, more cleansed, less cleansed. You know, it's something that you gotta have your finger on at the end of. You're gonna do it wrong. I'm not here trying to teach anything. I'm just here sharing doing shit wrong. So, mapping out the impact. Whether you do it entirely wrong and entirely you hurt yourself, it's not cleansing at all. If you can at the end sit back and go, God, well, what a tragedy that was, then good job. Double thumbs up, and I'd love to hear about it. So I don't know, hopefully this sparks a little bit of goddamn itchiness in you and maybe confusion. If I really get lucky, if I can get you motherfuckers confused a little bit, I'd love to hear about it. Let me know what kind of stuff you go through. And I don't know, it's hard to put my finger on this curiosity. I always kind of rush it at the end, but I don't know, what does this remind you of? What does this connect to? What does this what confuses you about this? What feels exciting about this? What kind of ineffable sensations do you have while watching this that you don't understand? What kind of numbness spawns up? How does your direction of focus change? I'm not here asking for anything but to be a little bit surprised. So let me know. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. And obviously look forward to more coaching videos, because this is exactly what helps me edit coaching videos. So the proof is right here. There will be more coaching videos. This is an extreme struggle, so hopefully we can enjoy it fully. Peace out, and motherfuckers, subscribe.